Okay, we're back. Now we're in 3.4. We're going to be talking about the array list, which is a type of data structure. So let's get into it. All right, 3.4. Let's go to the curriculum. And also I have the IntelliJ pulled up to the side as well. So 3.4 array list. To write an array list version of the program, we will have to introduce several new Java concepts, including the class ArrayList. We will also review different kinds of for loops used in Java. Before going any further, we suggest you run the ArrayList gradebook program in IntelliJ. You can view the program in the Java Web Dev exercise. Once you've done that, let's look at what happens in the Java source code. All right, so let's go over here. So I'm going to click on the project. We're going to click on the project. And here we have the inside of the source, under this into control flow and collections. That's the chapter we're in. And then we're going to talk about the ArrayList gradebook. So I have that open. So I'm going to close that. And so here we have the class open. Now, something I want to bring out to you. It needs to say C right here for class. That's the only way you're going to be able to run it. If it doesn't have a C right here, or if it have a J or anything like that, it only runs within the class, and then you have to have your static public, your public static void main function method here, and then you have your play buttons. If you don't see those play buttons, you may want to close out the program. Close down IntelliJ and open it back up to make sure you see those classes. So that's the way it will run. Okay, so here what it tells us to do to go ahead and run it. I'm going to run it, and it's building right here, and there we go. It's working. Enter your students or enter finish or enter to finish. So I hit enter, and I guess it's finished right there because I don't have anything in there, so that's why it's finished. So it's running, it ran, and it's done. I can stop it right here if I want to and rerun it later on. Okay, so let's go over the particular syntax here, what's in this particular file. So we have the file here on the right in IntelliJ, and here's an example of it. So we're going to read through it and break it down. Here, we declare and initialize two objects, students and grades. So here are our objects right here on line 10 and 11. And as it says here, which appears to be of a type ArrayList. So that's our type right there. And we're passing in the string. So here we go. We have this class ArrayList, and we're passing in the type string and ArrayList double, respectively. An array list in Java is very similar to an array. Notice it says similar, not 100% like it, but similar to it. Like an array, we must let the compiler know what kind of objects or array list is going to contain, or our array list is going to contain. In this case of students, the array list will contain values of type string, representing the names of the students. So we use the array list string syntax to inform the compiler that we intend to fill our list with strings. Similarly, grades will hold exclusively values of type double and is declared to be of type ArrayList double. Okay, that makes sense. Now let's look at this warning here. Notice that we declared grades to be of a type ArrayList double using the wrapper class double. This is called a wrapper class. So constantly keep reviewing, keep going over these little small nuances because it's so easy to forget them. So we want to definitely emphasize you to say what it's called when you're typing it out. Say it in your head or say it out loud. This is a wrapper class. This is the wrapper class. Wrapper class. Keep saying it over and over till it sticks in your head. Repetitious is your friend. Now, rather than the primitive type double, we're not doing the lowercase double, but we're doing the object double. All values stored in Java collections must be objects. This is important. In Java collections must be objects. So in order to store all values into a Java collection, it must be an object. So we'll have to use object types in those situations. In lines 10 and 11, we also initialize each list by creating a new empty list. Note that when we call the ArrayList constructor, as in new ArrayList, we don't need to specify type. It's implicit in the left-hand side of the assignment, right over here. That's why we add it there. You don't have to assign it here because we're getting it from the class. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at the notes. You will sometimes see the ArrayList class written as ArrayList E, where E represents a placeholder. Remember this, it represents a placeholder for the type that a programmer will declare a given list to hold. This is especially true in documentation. You can think of E as representing an arbitrary type. Classes like ArrayList E that take another type or class as a parameter are referred to as generic classes or generic types. We use these in TypeScript as well, generic types. And we'll break that down as we go further if you're new to Java and if you already come from a different programming language. It's like a generic. So, and think of generic as basic, and it covers a lot of different bases. Sometimes we use any in JavaScript, especially when you are in a different type of frameworks or libraries. But it's a part of TypeScript. That's not a part of JavaScript, but that's a part of TypeScript because TypeScript is a strongly typed language as well. And that's why we incorporate it inside of JavaScript. But here in Java, we don't need TypeScript because Java is a strongly typed language. And this is one of the things they use, generic types. So here in 3.4.1, ArrayList iterations. 3.4.1.1 do while. So we have a do while right here on line 18. And it says, and all the way down to 25. And that's the syntax. So we're looking at it here. So do new student, and then we'll input next line if not new student dot equals an empty string, students add new student. So what is this saying? We're establishing right here the new student variable, and it's being stored the input next line. This is what we're entering in. So when we enter in your students or enter in finish or enter to finish, here we have the input right here. This is what it's being called, and it's being stored, whatever you type, it's being stored into that variable. Now it says if not student dot equals to empty string. So if it's not empty to an empty string, if this is true, so that means if there's something there, we want to go ahead. If it's possible, we're going to add new student. So we want to add new student to students. So remember, this not reverses this. So this is now no longer true. This is now what we call false. We set this to be false. So if this is false, then we want to go ahead and run this, which kind of confusing to get your head around it if this is new. Basically, we're saying if this is false, which basically makes it true to your program, is going to run that next block of code. So if this is false, it's going to run this block of code right here. And then we hop into our while loop, where we now saying not student dot equal to empty string, and that's what it's going to give us back. So here, recall that a do while loop is very similar to a while loop, but the execution condition is checked at the end of the loop block. So remember, we're using that word check. We know we're making our checks here. And I said, this has the net effect that the code block will always run at least once. In this example, we prompt the user for a name, which Java process via input.next line. When the user hit the enter key to finish entering names, the user enters a blank line. For each student that is entered, that is each non-empty line, we add the new string to the end of our list with student.addStudent. The .add method is provided by the ArrayList class. So take some time and go through that. And there are a lot other ArrayList methods to get familiar with, some of which we will discuss in more detail below. Note that our program imports java.util ArrayList to take advantage of the Java provided class. So if this is our package up here, and if I click this plus button, you can see what we're importing. Now, I want you to take some time. We're going to stop the video here, and I want you to go ahead and click on this ArrayList link that we gave you. Go ahead and take some time to go over this. After you go through the whole, get through this whole section, then come back or the whole chapter, and then come back and go over it again to get an understanding of what's there. But I want to make sure you have time to break this down. Now, some of you may want to go and do this now, but again, like I said, I kind of recommend make it to the end of at least the chapter 3 and then go back over it again and go step by step, because you want to know what's there first. Okay, so I'm going to end the video on this particular section, and we're going to pick back up on 3.4 in the next video. So remember, the more you practice, the more you improve. See you in the next video.